Welcome to the BackPageLead Vidcast. I'm Charlie Happell and joined as always this week by Wayne Carey. How are you, mate?
Charlie, good.
Look, the issue of the week is head-high tackles, and there seems to be two aspects to this. One is players who are bending at the knees and lifting their arms and drawing the high tackle, and the other is guys just going in head first into a contest, which we saw Cyril Rioli do a few times at the weekend, and drawing a free kick that way. Have the umpies got it right, or does something need to be done to address this issue?
Oh, look, the players are getting better at drawing free kicks. The game's quickened up. I think the umpires have got a very difficult job to umpire this particular, if you call it an outbreak of head-high tackles, because players know what is going to get them a free kick, and they are ducking into other players. They're going in lower, they're going in harder, they're going in faster. So in terms of the umpires and how they're umpiring it, it's very, very difficult for them. I don't subscribe to the fact that they're not doing a good job. I think it's just becoming a lot more difficult for them to umpire. Now, how that changes or what the AFL can do about that, I'm not so sure. I just think if a player ducks into tackles, then they've got to let it go. But we're seeing players actually get hit in the head a lot more often because they're wanting a free kick, and the players will basically do anything to get a free kick now, and they're ducking into some of these tackles, and someone might seriously get hurt by doing it. And it's not the fault of the tackler. It's a lot of the times it's a player with the ball now running into players without the ball. So it's very hard to police though, and very hard to umpire. So I don't envy their position.
You mentioned head-high injuries. We'll touch on that in a minute. But okay, the umpires now know what the tactics that are being employed by some players. The free kick count at Patterson Stadium on Sunday was 29-15 to West Coast against the Roos. But it's not only that game. I think the three matches they played at home this year, West Coast, I think the total is 94 free kicks for, 50 against. The umpires now know what's going on. Surely they can kind of modify some of their judgments.
Without having seen all of those games from start to finish, maybe those free kicks were there, Charlie. And maybe they were all there on the weekend. Maybe a couple of them weren't. But look, you talk about the head-high ones. What about the guys taking the ball and diving forward and the push in the backs? I mean, that has gone to another level as well. But we don't talk about that because we're not talking about the head. It's just players diving forward.
Trying to get a 50, mate?
Players are getting so good at taking possession of the ball, and when they feel pressure, they dive forward, and that catapults the player behind them on top of them. They get a free kick pushing the back. Yeah. Now, I've seen I've seen that change a lot, and that's one of the areas that's changed a lot in our game. Players are so smart at milking those free kicks. Look, it'll sort itself out. It'll sort itself out. I know you're upset because it's the Kangaroos.
No, I'm very objective.
But yeah, look, and there's no question that when there's a big crowd and you're the home team, that they're human beings. Umpires are human beings. And by the way, it is Umpire Appreciation Week last week, so maybe that's why I'm feeling the way I am.
We appreciate everything.
But they have got a very difficult job, and I'm sure they can be influenced at times by the crowd. When you've got 50,000 people yelling at you, you're only human, and they make mistakes. I think all in all, this year, from what I've seen, umpires are doing a pretty good job.
And that's not something you would have said necessarily when you were playing the game.
When I was playing the game, I never gave them a rap at all. It certainly didn't speak to them like that. But no, I think they're doing a great job under difficult circumstances with this game that has so many grey areas and the speed of it.
But yeah, well, okay, that's a good point. Players are rushing into contests with more vigour and almost recklessness like never before. That has got to lead to a spate of injuries, you would think, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think, we saw Joel Selwood do it a couple of times, a couple
Luke
of
Ball,
weeks ago.
Lenny Hayes.
Luke Ball, Lenny Hayes, they're constantly getting head knocks.
Yeah.
And look, they've always played their footy that way. It's nothing different. I don't know whether there's more
solution,
more head injuries. I just think players are getting so smart at milking those free kicks, and they're prepared to put their head in harm's way. And maybe that does have to be looked at. I'm not saying that in terms of umpiring it. I think the umpires are doing the best they can.
On the injury question, the NFL, American football, American gridiron, has witnessed in the last few years a spate of very serious head injuries and players seeking litigation from the NFL because they have received brain damage, only maybe in minor form sometimes. You know, and we have here the Australian neurosurgeon Jeffrey Rosenfeld, who said he expected there to be a spate of litigation related to retired AFL players and the injuries they might have received in the course of playing. I mean, I've sort of lumped this on you without much warning. Do you see that being an issue or not?
Well, some might say I got a bit of brain damage after I finished playing footy. I might give him a buzz and just see whether I was knocked around a little bit too much on the footy field. But no, look, we you know that it's a contact sport. It's a physical sport. I don't know whether there's more concussion now than what there was, say, 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But you know, it's the way of life. I think more people have. I think I saw the other night 200 people sued Woolworths over slipping on a grape last year, if you believe what you read or hear on the news. So you know, AFL footballers suing for brain damage. I don't like it. You know the consequences. You go out there, you play footy. They're the risks. It's like a bull rider suing the Bull Riding Association because he got kicked in the head by a bull. I mean, they're the risks you take. That's what you're out there doing.
Okay. Well, look.
Do you not agree with that?
I think the AFL needs to draw quite clear guidelines, or the Umpires Association.
No one puts these guys in a headlock and pulls them out onto the ground. They know they're going to play a contact sport. You can't go suing after the fact because you've got knocked out a few times. That's the fact of the matter is.
It depends if club doctors send you on when you're.
Well, if there's
all those issues.
No, well, if that's a completely different issue. If you know you've been sent out there when you've been concussed or something's, you know, there's been, you know. What is it called? Malpractice. Whatever that is. But if there's been any that's a completely different story. But you know, players know that players know the risk. They're playing a contact sport. I don't think anyone should be suing anyone.
Suck it up, princess. Yep. Let's talk about Carmichael Hunt now. Watchers of this program will remember a year or so ago that Wayne Carey had his doubts about Carmichael's ability to cut it in the big league and thought he might have been there as kind of a bit of a token presence. He's starting to look like a footballer, isn't he?
Yeah, look, there's no question that he's improved immensely, and I think they've probably found his position. It's probably best on ball. When he gets the ball, he looks like he's got a good step. He's got a good presence around the footy. You know, he's still not an elite midfielder. We're not sure what his opponent's doing. Because right now we're giving Carmichael and fair enough, we're giving him, you know, all the ticks for him starting to get a bit of the ball, and that's great. But let's not get too carried away just yet about, you know, him being an elite midfielder. But he's definitely on the improve.
So we'll have to wait a few weeks for the apology.
Apology for saying that what?
You can't play.
He can't.
Can't play. Did you see Harley Bennell, his teammate, play?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, very excitement.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the 37 possessions, 3 goals.
Yeah.
Number 11. Yeah, sorry, I did see him play, Charlie. Sorry, I just didn't ring a bell. He was absolutely superb, and boy, has he got some talent. All of a sudden, another excitement machine. Yeah. You know, up on the Gold Coast, he was absolutely brilliant.
And the trick is that the club will have to try and keep him now, because I mean there'll be all sorts of people chasing.
Well, they're going to have an abundance of players that other clubs are going to want, and that's where they have to be a little bit smart. You know, they might have 10 kids that are just absolutely brilliant. Yeah. They might have to trade those 2 to get, you know, that middle of the range type experienced player to the club, so that sets them up for, you know, what might be a premiership, you know, crack in, you know, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Round 7 throws up a few interesting matches, and Gold Coast and GWS comprise one of them. Can you see any way that GWS might be able to pinch that one?
Look, Gold Coast have been very good the last couple of weeks, but so has GWS.
Yep.
I mean, they've been really competitive in their last 2 games. So, yeah, this will be an interesting one. If you remember rightly, it was the Brisbane Lions and the Gold Coast upset the Brisbane Lions. It's a little bit like that. You don't know if the Gold Coast go in there thinking, oh, well, we've been in the competition for a year longer, we should just win this one.
Yep.
They might get a bit of a surprise by Greater Western Sydney, who have a lot of talented kids, obviously, also.
It doesn't look like Gary Avlett's going to play either, which is a factor in GWS's favour.
Oh, of course, but as we saw on the weekend, a young kid steps up and has it 37 times and kicks 3 goals. I think even Gazza would have been happy with that.
He would have too. That's very true. Got more hair than Gazza. Now, the other game we need to talk about is Essendon and West Coast at Etihad Stadium on Saturday night. Bombers aiming to be 6 out of 7, and West Coast have got their injury problems, as we've discussed. Bombers have crept under the radar a bit, haven't they?
They have, and probably have to say that they've really impressed me. I didn't have them in my top 8 at the start of the year, but saw them on the weekend. They disposed of Brisbane really easily. They were ordinary. But what's impressed me about the Bombers is it doesn't matter who they've had at their disposal. They've had some key injuries. They've been able to cover them and still perform. I mean, they've lost 1 game by a point.
Yep.
They are going really, really nicely. But West Coast, as you said, they've got a lot of injuries, as have the Bombers. But the West Coast have got a lot of injuries. Probably due for a downer West Coast, but they're a quality outfit. I think they're probably going to this game favourites, even though it's at Etihad. West Coast have had 2 good wins at Etihad already this year. I think it'll be a really good game.
Pick a winner for us.
I'll stick with West Coast.
Okay. Wayne, Carey, thanks again for your thoughts and your insights, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Charlie.